What's going down, D-Gens? Here we are, week 9, already starting the Thursday game in the books. We're going to just go over some plays. We can go over last week, and we're going to go into this week's plays, like we do every week. Last week, so on the video, we actually ended up going 2-2. I did add a play on Twitter. So, I hate to break it to you if you don't follow me on Twitter, but it's just the easiest way for me to add picks if they are last minute. It's, just a lot less time consuming to just go on there and throw the pick up. So Saints Chargers under 41.5 was the 5th pick for the week last week. That one did cash, so we did go 3-2. That being said, let's see here. The other picks here, Joe Mixon over 17.5 rush attempts, that cashed. Breece Hall over 74.5 rushing yards, that also cashed. He went to 80 yards. Joe Mixon, I think, had over like 20-ish, 21 carries, something like that. So both of them went over. I don't want to call it comfortably, but, they cashed with minutes on the clock still, so that's good. The side and the total were what we lost on last week. So the Vikings -3, and we knew it going in. We had a feeling. Everybody was calling this thing fishy. I did it just because I could not see a reason to not take the Vikings last week. And honestly, they may have done a better job, and there may have been a better chance of them covering had they not lost their left tackle in the game. But, they do. It's a loss, and Puka Nacua gets announced, the day of game day. And, of course, he gets to be like an integral part of the damn game plan. It's just, whatever. I'm just not going to rehash that. It pissed me off. But so that's one thing. Bills at Seahawks over 47. This one I think is just really got impacted by the lack of DK Metcalf. So they end up only getting 41 points, and the Seahawks really weren't able to do a damn thing. They put up only 10 points. So that's pretty much it for that. Now, going into this week, though, if you can't tell, I'm really digging on the props here. So these last couple weeks, there's two ways I would like to attack this time of the season. And somebody just kind of remind me if you want to make a note to yourself. But really week, let's just say 8, and maybe even if you want to go to week 6 at the earliest, but let's just say week 6 to about week 13, typically very, very sharp weeks. The first 5 weeks are kind of a lot of setup and making sure that we know all the numbers and the players and how teams want to play and all that kind of stuff. And then the books get really sharp. And the sharp bettors, the big guys that have millions of dollars to put down, they're really sharp and they have all the numbers and they're moving everything to where it gets, pretty drilled down to exactly where it should be by the time of kickoff. So there's 2 ways to really attack this. So number 1, play props. And that's kind of what we're doing here. That's what we've been at least staying afloat with our props. And then secondly is going to be teasers. Now, I have not been playing a lot of teasers. To be honest with you, man, I understand, and I've read the book and everything as far as playing long teasers. I just have the worst fucking luck when it comes to teasers. I have somebody that just misses it, or I have both teams. I'll actually cover a teaser, but neither side needed the tease. They would have covered the original bet. So I'm very hesitant with them. But if there's a play you want, this would be the time to use those teasers. That's the best tool in the bag right now. As far as what we're going to look at, so the props. Saints at Panthers, we have Alvin Kamara over 66.5 rushing yards. Let me show you this defensive weakness issue here. So we've touched on this before, but I'm just going to show it again. So let's go over the Panthers, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, because that's who we are going to be betting against. So first of all, the Carolina Panthers, which if you're looking on your screen right now, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 5th row, and the second column is going to be versus running backs. I don't know if you can see that, but it is a plus 8.3. That means that fantasy-wise, they typically score about 8.3 additional fantasy points when running backs play against Carolina. Now, that can be obviously anything, right? It can be a touchdown and 20 yards. It could be 80 yards. It could be whatever. Doesn't necessarily have to be just rushing. But the point is that running backs excel against Carolina, and it makes sense. Carolina's typically losing, so the other team is, going to try to run out the clock. And a lot of times, if you watch these Carolina games, I mean, by the middle of the third quarter, the other team is just like, all right, let's get the hell out of here. Like, we're kicking their ass, just run, 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 run. And there's been a lot of teams that even pull their players like midway through the fourth quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. So I can definitely see Kamara going over this early. I mean, maybe even like in the first half, or getting pretty damn close to it. And, hopefully being a sweat-free cash. Now, that's the only play I have on that game. The other one we have, though, is not until Monday night, and that's going to be the Bucks and Panthers. I'm sorry, the Bucks and the Chiefs game. Now, the Chiefs, if you're looking across your screen right now, the KC, obviously. So it goes quarterback, which they're 0.6, so not really much of a difference there. Running back is negative 6.8, so you definitely want to fade running backs against the Chiefs. Receivers are negative 1.4, and then the tight ends here show as negative 2.6. Now, I would say if you look back as far as who they've played, typically that is they have not really had a good tight end come up against them. Well, I guess they haven't had a great day. Now, that being said, the Chiefs do struggle against the tight end, and the only reason we know that is because we've kept prior, week records. And what this is, in case you're not aware, this is the Harris Index. And so what that is Chris Harris, he has a podcast. He keeps these every week, and it's a 5-week moving average of players, right? Running back, receivers, tight end. So they're core players, and how defenses respond to them on a fantasy level. So in this case, KC here, this is from week 6. You'll see the plus 3.1. This is really one of the first weeks where they're showing up as a negative as far as how well they're doing against tight ends. But I would, again, say the last week or two, they really haven't had a great tight end come up against them. This week, they are going to be playing against Cade Otton, and not that he's the best. He's not Isaiah Likely. We're not expecting one of those kind of games like week 1, but we do know that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are both out for this game, obviously, but we still have Baker Mayfield back there. They have a lot of scrub receivers, and Cade Otton, if you saw last week, he was really the focal point of the entire offense, and he's one of the reasons they stayed in that game. Believe he scored 2 touchdowns. He did score 2 touchdowns last week. He had 10 receptions. He's going to be their focal point. He's really one of the best receiving options they have on the field right now with the injuries. So partner that up with the Chiefs. Typically don't do a great job. I know this shows that they've been doing good recently, but they don't do a great job against a focal type tight end like an Isaiah Likely or a Mark Andrews in the past. Even like Brock Bowers, who did pretty well or okay against them. I believe he had a lower fantasy game, but as far as yardage goes, did pretty well. So we're going to focus on that. We want Cade Otton over 4.5 receptions and over 40, I believe it's 48.5 receiving yards. We'll go back to that in just a second. Well, actually, you know what? Let's just go to it now. Let's see here. Yeah, so over 47.5 receiving yards. And then the last one here is, and you can parlay those. I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to take each individual for a unit, and then I'll probably parlay them for about another half unit. But then also Broncos at Ravens, Courtland Sutton, over 48.5 receiving yards. I know the Broncos haven't been the absolute best, right, especially with Bo Nix, but he is coming on lately. Yes, he's played weak defenses, but the weakness of the Ravens defense is playing against true elite number 1 receivers, and Courtland Sutton, in my opinion, fits that criteria. He's definitely the clear number 1 receiver. I don't know about elite necessarily, but he is a very good receiver. He definitely should be in this category as far as somebody that we can look to depend on, and that Bo Nix is going to depend on. He's really the first read in most plays for this guy. Bo Nix is going to be looking for him. I do expect a higher scoring game in this one. I would actually look to go the over in this game, but it's moved too much in my opinion. It was at 44.5. Now it's at 46.5. I don't really want to catch the tail end of that. If it drops for some reason, or if I can get it live, I'll look at it. But right now, I'm more concerned with the over for Courtland Sutton at 48.5 receiving yards, especially because of the way they use him, and because Bo Nix is so willing to take these deep shots, especially if and when that guy sees a cover 1. It's almost a guarantee he's at least looking that way. If you can get a chance, go back and watch him. And even like last week anytime there was cover one on the field, he's chunking it, or he's looking that way and trying to find an opportunity to chunk it down the field. So this could be 1 or 2 catches for Courtland Sutton if it goes the right way. But even if it's not, even if it ends up being 4 or 5 catches, I do believe Courtland Sutton easily gets over this 48.5 receiving yards. So those are the props. Now, as far as the plays are concerned, we do have Washington, the Commanders, over 23.5 total team points. Last time they played the Giants, they stayed under this number, but they did settle for, I believe it was like 6 field goals or something like that. The offense has gotten better. They've opened up the playbook a lot now that Jaden Daniels is, more acclimated to the NFL. He's using his legs more. It's just gotten overall better. The Giants' defense is okay. They do put pressure on quarterbacks, but Jaden Daniels is the perfect answer to that. The Giants have kind of struggled stopping the run, and Washington just last week had a hard time against the Bears getting in the end zone. I don't expect that to happen twice. I think they're going to have some pretty good kind of quirks that they put in the playbook to get in the end zone. And I could see, really a couple players going off for this one. I don't want to pick one only because it's kind of hard to, hey, this guy is going to be the one when there's not necessarily a focal point other than maybe Terry McLaurin. So give me just the over team total at 23.5. Bears are playing the Cardinals in Chicago. Give me the Bears money line. The Bears defense, the secondary is really, really awesome. Like I just said, they were able to keep Washington out of the end zone other than that Hail Mary play last week. And now you're going to play against a Cardinals team who's going to rely on Marvin Harrison to move the ball. Not to say that he can't. I'm sure he's going to have something, some catches, but he's not going to. I don't expect him to just ball out on his Bears secondary. Kyler Murray, he has not been running as much, not just this year, but for the last couple of years now. So, yes, he's going to probably get some yards. Yeah, he'll probably have a play here or there. But I don't think that it's going to be enough to beat Chicago, especially because the Cardinals' run defense has just been terrible. In that defensive weakness spreadsheet I was showing you, they actually give up about over 3 points more than average to running backs, and DeAndre Swift just went off last week against a Washington defense that's pretty much equivalent to the Cardinals as far as stopping the run, because it's not their strength either. So I could see DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson getting in the mix here and having a pretty good day yardage-wise, getting them in the end zone and even, getting them to the red zone and hopefully getting them in the end zone. But either way, I think the Bears win this game. I don't want to call it easily. It could be, a field goal game, but I do believe the Bears defense and their running game gets them this win. And then lastly, the Rams and Seahawks. And this is a little bit of a harder handicap. The only reason I'm picking this one here is the Rams have been at home for 4 straight weeks. So 3 home games, and there was a bye week in there. So these guys have not left home for 4 weeks. And if you remember last year, if you were a follower from last year, we did find out that teams that play 3 home games in a row, when they finally leave, 90% of the time they drop that first away game. Whether it's distractions, families calling them, looking for them, whatever it is, they just tend to drop that game. Now, the exception last year was the Ravens won their first away game because they did have 3 homes and an away. And then when they finally went away, they finally won that game. But you're talking about one of the best, 4 or 5 teams in the NFL that was able to do that. Now, the Rams may be that good. And this is a divisional game, so this is not an easy one. If you're going to sit out on any of these picks, I would say this is the one to maybe, just take a nibble on or just sit off of if you don't like it. But the track record shows that we should have an advantage here playing with the Seahawks, especially on a money line pick where it's even money or pretty damn close to it, if not plus money by the time we get to kickoff. Puka already has a knee injury kind of flaring up again. So they may be, kind of messing around with us like they did last week. But either way, give me the Seahawks on the money line based off the trend, based off the Rams that haven't lost, and based really just on the fact that the way that they won last week, I don't think that's going to be repeatable. I don't think they're sneaking up on anybody this week. So give me the Seahawks money line. And those are the picks for this week, guys. So hopefully you're telling. Hopefully we have a great week. Definitely want to make some money here going into the holiday season. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will speak with y'all next week.